Come closer. The shadows have missed you, and tonight they have a new story to tell. Welcome to Scary Stories After Dark. You don't find Harrow's edge. It finds you. They'd heard the story 100 different ways: a town swallowed by plague, a curse left behind by doctors in beaked masks, a whisper that if one walked your street, someone in your house wouldn't see the dawn. But for 4 friends with cameras and backpacks, it was just another ghost story, another you won't believe this internet myth to chase. The dirt road was longer than it should have been. Each step felt like it pulled them deeper, until even the trees grew wrong. Branches curled and knotted like they'd been burned. "Congratulations," Evelyn muttered, adjusting her bag. "We've officially found the creepiest rest stop exit in the country." Mara flicked her camcorder on, the red light glowing like an eye. "Nah, this is prime horror movie real estate. Title card writes itself, dumb teens die in the woods." "Speak for yourself," Jace grinned, swinging his crowbar over his shoulder. "When the zombies show up, I'm the hero. You 3 are just side characters." "Hero?" Evelyn shot back, rolling her eyes. "You wouldn't make it past the opening credits." The 4th voice, quieter, steadier, cut through their laughter. "Look." Ash's flashlight beam tilted forward, and just like that, the world shifted. The sky had bruised over, clouds swelled black and violet, and the moon bled red light across the treetops like a wound. The air felt heavier, thicker, like every breath was stolen from someone else's lungs. "Cool," Evelyn said, but her voice cracked. "So, Silent Hill skies, check. Everyone else feel like we just crossed into the wrong game?" "Yeah," Mara whispered, though she didn't lower the camcorder. "But that's what makes it good content." The smell came next. Rot, damp stone, something sweet that made their throats ache. Then, movement. Shadows shuffled at the far end of the cobblestone street. Lanterns swayed faintly, masks catching the light. At first, they looked like townsfolk, gaunt, hunched, just sickly survivors of some old disease. But the longer the beam of Ash's flashlight clung to them, the worse they became. Skin sloughed in pale, wet sheets, black veins spidered across their arms and necks. Masks weren't strapped on, but grown into them, beaks fused to bone, stitching buried in rotten flesh. One lifted its head. The glow caught its sockets, not eyes at all, but hollow wounds burning faintly from within. "Okay," Mara murmured, her sarcasm faltering. "Not zombies, not human either. $10 says highly contagious." Jace still smirked, though his grip on the crowbar tightened until his knuckles whitened. "I'll still fight them." "Sure you will," Evelyn whispered, stepping closer to Ash. But he wasn't smiling. His beam stayed locked on the shapes, their jerking movements, their hollow breaths, their skin dripping like candle wax. And behind them, in the deeper dark, stood something taller. Unmoving, silent, lantern burning like a clock face, watching. The street narrowed, buildings pressing closer like they were listening. Every window was shuttered, every door bolted, but the sound was everywhere. Shuffle. Drag. Breath rattling like wet lungs. Fog slid down the alleys, curling around the group's legs. The afflicted were moving with them now, always at the edges of sight. Okay, anyone else notice how this fog didn't exist 2 minutes ago? Mara whispered, camcorder still fixed ahead. Classic horror ambiance, 10 out of 10. Yeah, Evelyn muttered, tightening her grip on her sketchbook like it was a weapon, except ambiance doesn't sound like it's choking to death. A shape lunged from the mist, too fast, too close. Its arm lashed out, skin peeling in damp strips, nails blackened and jagged. Evelyn stumbled back as Jace swung his crowbar, metal cracking bone that crunched like wet wood. The thing collapsed, but it didn't scream. It just twitched, head jerking, mask beak scraping across the stones as if trying to rise again. Jesus Christ, Jace gasped, chest heaving. It's like hitting a sack of meat. What the hell are they? Ash's light stayed steady, even as the fog thickened. His voice was low, almost swallowed by the night. They're not alive, not anymore. From deeper in the mist came the shuffle of dozens more. Lantern glows bobbing, closing in, multiplying like fireflies in a dying forest. Guys, Mara's sarcasm drained, camcorder trembling in her hands. We're surrounded. Evelyn pressed closer to Ash, eyes darting from shadow to shadow. We need cover, somewhere high, somewhere locked, anywhere. Another shape lurched into view, skin hanging in tatters, jaw fused into the mask's beak. Its chest heaved, not with breath, but with a sound like chains rattling inside its ribs. Jace raised his crowbar again, but his voice was thinner this time, almost breaking. I don't think I can fight that many. Ash didn't move. His beam lingered past the hunters, through the fog, toward a single flicker of warm light, a lantern burning in a window above. They're watching us, he said softly. Not just the hunters, the whole town. The buildings leaned in until the street felt like a throat. Curtains trembled as if they were breathing. From somewhere deeper in the town, a bell tolled once, flat, swallowed by fog. Okay, Mara whispered, camcorder tucked to her chest. If anyone in a beak offers me a checkup, I'm suing. On who? Jace muttered. Death. A latch scraped. A door 3 houses down opened the width of a palm. A pale woman peered out with eyes like watered milk and hissed, "Quickly, down!" They ran. The rot smell swelled as the afflicted shuffled into the square behind them, lanterns flickering like fever. The woman yanked them through and bolted the door, then lifted a rug and pulled at an iron ring. Stairs gaped, stones slick with damp. In. She didn't blink. Hush. The cellar was low and close, the air chalked with lime. Shelves held cloudy jars, pears gone to ghosts, a row of candles dripped into puddles of wax. A single lantern burned on a nail, light pulsing slow, like a heartbeat that wasn't theirs. Thank you, Evelyn said softly, pressing her sketchbook against her ribs. We didn't mean to. Talking names draws them, the woman whispered. No names, no addresses, no invitations. Don't look at the well, don't follow the bells. And never, ever touch a mask. Jace tried on a grin that didn't quite fit. 10 out of 10 hiding spot. Would hide again. Mara elbowed him. If I die in a cellar, my mom will kill me. Overhead, floorboards creaked. The afflicted moved past the house, soft, wet, dragging, a rattling breath like chain inside bone. Light seeped through the cracks, smearing red lines across their faces as lanterns bobbed by. One paused. The pulsing glow in the lantern matched the pulse in the cellar, beat for beat. Evelyn held her breath until her chest burned. Ash's voice came low. "They're pacing with the light." The woman's head tipped, listening. Then she began to hum under her breath, 4 notes in the same slow rhythm as the lantern. After a moment, tiny feet pattered on the stairs and a child appeared, half hidden behind her skirt. He had a wooden horse with 1 wheel and eyes that didn't quite find your face. "The doctor sees," the child whispered, as if reciting from a lesson. "The doctor knows," the woman echoed in the exact same cadence. "The doctor marks," the child said. "The lantern glows," the woman finished, and both of them smiled in perfect, practiced unison. Evelyn's skin crawled. You live here, with them out there?" The woman's smile stayed. It didn't reach her eyes. "We keep our rules. We keep our doors. We keep our dawns." Mara swallowed. "Is there a way out of town?" "A way out is a way in." The woman's gaze slid across them like a cold hand. "You're already inside." She reached for Evelyn's palm and pressed something small and metal into it, a charm the size of a coin, shaped like a tiny beaked mask. It was warm, almost hot. "For protection," she said. "Hold it if the light finds you." Ash's flashlight drifted to the woman's fingers. The nail beds were stained a faint, unearthly red, the same shade as the lantern glow. He said nothing. The bell tolled again, closer this time. The afflicted moved on. The cellar's pulse slowed. The woman lifted the rug, unbolted the back door, and guided them to a narrow alley drowned in fog. "Go behind the butcher. Keep to the brick. Don't look up." "Why?" Jace asked, already looking up. "Because it looks back," the child said, and giggled like he'd just told a joke. They stepped into the alley. Fog swallowed them whole. Behind, the door shut without a goodbye. The charm throbbed in Evelyn's fist like a caught moth. "Okay," Mara whispered, breath ghosting, "so our new friends are definitely fine and totally not nightmare puppets." "Shut up," Jace said, but there wasn't heat in it anymore. Ash paused at the mouth of the alley. Across the lane, 3 more windows had their curtains barely parted. In each, a face watched, still as portraits. All 3 mouths moved at once, soundless, forming the same 2 words. "Don't invite." The bell tolled a 3rd time. The sky deepened, reds pooling, the moon swollen and wrong. At the end of the street, half veiled by mist, a tall figure stood with a lantern, utterly still. The charm in Evelyn's hand grew hotter. When she dared to open her fingers, the tiny beak had begun to glow. The fog didn't thin. It grew heavier, clinging to their clothes like wet cloth. Every street looked the same, cobbled, narrow, lined with leaning houses that seemed to breathe. The bell had gone silent, but something worse had taken its place. A stillness. Evelyn hugged her sketchbook against her chest, knuckles white around the little mask charm. Anyone else notice how quiet it got? Like funeral quiet? "Don't say that," Mara whispered, her voice stretched thin. "Cliché much?" "Yeah, well," Jace muttered, gripping his crowbar tighter. "If a coffin rolls out of an alley, I'm swinging first and asking questions later." Ash didn't answer. His flashlight was steady, unblinking, but his pace slowed. He tilted the beam toward the end of the street. Lanterns. Not the bobbing sway of the afflicted, not the faint glow through shutters. These burned steady, fixed in place. and with them, figures. 3 stood in the mist, tall, silent. Their beaked masks caught the red light of the swollen sky, their lanterns held at their sides, glowing like pulsing heartbeats. They didn't move, they didn't advance, they only watched. The air felt heavier, pressing into their lungs. Evelyn's chest tightened, each lantern glow seemed to pulse inside her, a beat she couldn't match. "They're not chasing us," Mara whispered. Her camera was trembling in her hands. "Why aren't they chasing us?" "They don't need to," Ash murmured, his eyes never leaving the doctor's. "They're waiting." One of the lanterns flared brighter. For a moment, Evelyn swore she saw numbers flickering inside it. Not fire, not light, a clock face, its hands turning in sick, jerking ticks. Her stomach dropped. "They're counting." The tallest doctor shifted its head, mask tilting slightly, as if acknowledging her words. And then, one of the afflicted lurched out of an alley. Its body shook, skin dripping in tatters, but it didn't move toward them. It staggered straight into the circle of lantern light. The afflicted froze, its chest heaved, its skin split wider, then it collapsed in silence, twitching once before going still. The nearest doctor lifted its lantern higher, glow pulsing brighter, slower, like the last beats of a dying heart. Jace's bravado cracked, his voice breaking. "Nope, nope, nope, nope. We're leaving. We're—" "Shut up," Mara hissed, though her own voice quivered. "They'll hear us." "They don't need to hear," Ash said quietly. "They already know." For a breathless moment, none of them moved. The doctors didn't advance. The afflicted bodies didn't rise. Only the lanterns pulsed, steady and patient, like inevitability itself. Then, from somewhere far off, the bell tolled again. All 3 doctors turned their heads in unison toward the sound, and without a word, without a step, the lanterns dimmed and the figures dissolved back into fog. Evelyn realized her nails had cut into her palm around the charm. It was burning hot now, too hot. She dropped it, and when it struck the stones, the beak split down the middle like it had been hollow all along. The glow inside flickered once, then went out. They kept to the brick like the woman said. The alley coughed them into a wider lane where rain slanted in red sheets, and the sky had swollen into something that didn't feel like sky at all, just a lid, lowering. "Great," Mara murmured, rain freckles shining on her camera. "Even the weather's hemorrhaging." "Don't look up," Evelyn said, but she'd already done it once. The moon hung too close, as if you could touch it, and the clouds had gathered into shapes that looked uncomfortably like beaked profiles, drifting, conferring. Jace wiped water from his face with the back of his hand. "Knew I should have brought an umbrella and a priest." Ash lifted his flashlight and didn't use it. There was enough glow pouring off the sky to see the shine on the cobbles, the slick prints the afflicted left behind, smears, not steps. "Listen." They did. The bells were gone. In their place, a wet chorus of breathing from many throats and a sound like knuckles dragging along brick. Window latches clicked open by inches. Faces appeared, pale, polite, symmetrical. A child pressed both hands to the glass and fogged it in a perfect oval, then wrote a word with one finger. "Welcome." "Nope," Mara whispered. "Absolutely not." A door swung outward a crack. An old man in a tidy vest peered out. "This way," he said pleasantly, as if it were a Sunday errand. "You mustn't be caught in the open." "Why?" Jace asked. "Because he had to." "The sky's looking," the man said, and smiled with all his teeth. Evelyn felt the tiny split charm in her pocket even though she'd dropped it. The ghost of its heat clung to her skin. She stepped back from the door. "We're fine out here. Suit yourself." The old man's smile didn't dim. "But if you change your mind, invite me along. I know the quickest route." The door closed without a sound. Ash exhaled slowly. "They're asking to be invited now." "Like vampires," Jace said. "Like rules," Evelyn said. The first afflicted hit the street at a sprint. Its legs moved in jerks, knees popping under wet skin, and when it passed beneath a street lamp, the flesh at its neck glowed faintly from within, as if lit by a lantern it had swallowed. Two more followed, clambering over a wrought iron fence with bone scrape sounds. "Left," Ash said, already moving. "Keep to the brick." They ran. Boots slapped water, breath smoked. The afflicted didn't shriek. They clicked, teeth chattering in broken rhythms. Jawbones fused to beaks that knocked against their rib cages as they moved. Mara risked a glance back. "They're faster." "Then we're faster," Jace said, and for once there was no grin in it. They cut under an archway. On the far side, the lane opened into a square dominated by a dry stone well with a wooden lid bolted shut. "Don't look at the," Evelyn began. She looked. For a heartbeat, she saw her own face reflected in the black wood, not as a reflection, but as if her features had been carved there long ago and were waiting to be recognized. Ash's hand brushed her elbow, steady. "Eve?" "I'm fine," she lied. From 3 streets at once, the afflicted poured in. The sky reddened further, and for the first time the light seemed to have weight. It pressed on their backs, slow and sure, like a hand encouraging them to kneel. "Door," Mara hissed. "Anywhere." As if the town obliged, shutters flipped open on a tailor's shop. A husband and wife stood framed in lamplight, holding a neatly folded cloak between them. "Hurry," the wife called sweetly. "You'll catch your death." Jace barked a laugh that sounded like a cough. "Lady, we already caught it." Evelyn's gaze snagged on the cloak. Stitched inside the lining in small, careful letters, a name she knew too well. Evelyn Marrow. Her mouth went dry. "We keep moving," she said, and didn't explain. They shoved past the well. The afflicted kept pace at the edges, never quite touching, as if hurting them. The air tasted coppery. The moon swelled again, fraction by fraction, until the edges of the rooftops bled into its light. At the far end of the square, a straight road unspooled between 2 rows of leaning houses. Far down it, the fog thinned to a grayness that looked almost like dawn. Ash pointed. "That way." "Feels wrong," Mara said. "It all feels wrong," Jace said, and shouldered forward. They took the road. Windows watched them pass, mouths forming silent words in unison. "Don't invite," as if it were a nursery rhyme. The hunters shadowed them in the alleys, claws skittering on brick, never quite lunging. Halfway down, a lantern appeared in the middle of the street with no hand to hold it. It bobbed gently, like it was floating on a tide only it could feel. "Keep walking," Ash said. Evelyn couldn't. The light inside the lantern wasn't flame. It was a face of a clock, hands twitching in stutters. 0047.7. 0046. "Counting what?" Mara breathed. "Us," Jace said, voice gone small. The lantern drifted toward them, slow and cordial. When it reached Jace, it paused. The hands ticked down 3 more seconds and then stalled. The light dulled as if thinking. Then, almost politely, it slid past him and took up a place at Evelyn's shoulder. 0043. Her skin crawled cold and hot. "It's not mine," she whispered, because she needed that to be true. Ash stepped between her and the light without looking away from the road ahead. The glow licked over him and dimmed, like it didn't quite know where to settle. The fog at the road's end thinned further. Something like a gate took shape. Iron teeth arched over stone pillars. Beyond it, the suggestion of trees not bent wrong, of sky not bleeding. "Exit," Jace said, and for the first time it sounded like a prayer. The floating lantern withdrew as if satisfied. Behind them, the afflicted slowed. On the rooftops to either side of the gate, shapes stood, tall, still, beaked. Their lanterns burned steadily, not chasing, not blocking. Watching. "Why aren't they stopping us?" Mara asked. "Because a way out," Ash said quietly, "is a way in." They reached the iron posts. The moon loomed so close now, the world seemed tilted toward it. Evelyn could feel it on her scalp, like a hand. On the stone to the right, carved so faintly you'd miss it if the light didn't pulse at the right moment, were 4 initials scratched into old mortar. AM, EM, J, H, MQ. Evelyn's breath hitched. "We've already been here." "No," Ash said, eyes on the beyond. "We're about to be." The gate stood open. Behind them, the townsfolk had stepped into the street in a tidy line, all smiling the same smile. The child from the cellar lifted a hand and waggled his fingers as if waving goodbye or hello. The lanterns on the rooftops pulsed once, all together like 4 slow heartbeats. Evelyn swallowed. "On 3? Jace tightened his grip on the crowbar. Mara raised the camera. Ash offered his hand without looking, and Evelyn took it. 1, he said. They ran. The gate swallowed them whole. One breath they were in Harrow's edge, drowned in red fog and lantern light. Next, they were stumbling into a quiet road that looked almost normal. Almost. The sky shifted back to gray. The swollen moon bled itself thinner, pale and familiar again. Trees stood upright, their branches whispering only with the rain. Jace bent double, bracing on his crowbar, panting. We made it. Mara stopped recording for the first time all night. She slid the camcorder into her bag and scrubbed her face. Oh my God, we actually made it. Evelyn clutched Ash's hand like it was the only thing holding her bones together. It let us leave. Ash's eyes stayed on the gate behind them. His voice was calm, but low, almost inaudible. No. It showed us the way out. The gate didn't close, it simply faded, stone posts eaten by the fog, until nothing remained but the empty road. The rain eased, headlights flickered on the horizon, a car passed, ordinary, humming, alive. The world was back. For the first time in hours, Evelyn let herself laugh, a brittle, trembling sound that surprised her. We're idiots. We went looking for a ghost town and nearly... Her voice broke. She didn't finish. Ash touched her shoulder, grounding. We're still here. That's what matters. They didn't speak much on the drive home. The windshield wipers kept time, and the road blurred into black ribbon. Jace tried music once, but the speakers sputtered with static, and he shut it off with a curse. By the time Evelyn crawled into her own bed, dawn was pressing pale light through the curtains. Her sketchbook lay on the desk, damp pages curling where she'd scrawled frantic shapes. Beaks, lanterns, a child's smile carved wrong. Her eyes burned. She wanted to believe it was over. And then, a glow outside the window. Faint, patient. Her stomach dropped. She stood before she could stop herself, breath rattling. The yard was empty. The street was still. But on the sidewalk, standing politely as though waiting to be invited, was a lantern. No hand held it. No figure stood near it. It pulsed softly, steadily, like a clock counting down. From across town, Mara lay wide-eyed in bed, camcorder on the nightstand. She reached for it with shaking fingers, only to freeze. Through her curtains, her lens caught the same glow. Jace stirred from uneasy sleep, crowbar against his wall, when the air thickened. He sat up. His window pane quivered faintly, as if touched from outside. He looked. A lantern bobbed, steady as a heartbeat. And Ash, he stood at his own window, calm as ever, though his hand trembled slightly against the glass. The lantern outside his house didn't wait at the curb. It pressed itself right against the window. Light seeped through, painting his face red. Evelyn's phone buzzed on her nightstand. A message lit the screen. From Mara, they followed us. The lantern outside Evelyn's window flared brighter, and she swore she saw numbers in its glow. Not fire, not light, a clock face twitching forward. 0012. 0011. 0010. The lantern outside Evelyn's window didn't fade. It pulsed, slow and steady, each beat thrumming in her chest like it belonged to her own heart. She wanted to scream, to wake the whole house, but the glow pressed into her lungs until she could only whisper. Across town, Mara filmed through her curtains, Zoom trembling, breath hitching as she whispered into the mic. They didn't stay in Harrow's Edge. They're here. They're... Her voice broke. The lens caught the lantern's face, its hands twitching. 0007 0006. Jace sat cross-legged on his bed, crowbar across his lap. He stared at the glow outside like it was daring him to fight. Come on then, he muttered, voice shaking. Come on. But the lantern didn't move. It didn't need to. The seconds ticked, and sweat bled down his neck. Ash didn't move away from the glass. He watched the lantern as if he had always known it would find him. When his phone buzzed, he didn't look away. Evelyn, it's here. Mara, mine too. Jace, outside, counting. Ash typed only one word back. Inevitable. The glow swelled, brighter now, enough to paint the walls, and through the light, shapes appeared, not the afflicted, not the doctors. The townsfolk. The pale woman from the cellar standing in Evelyn's driveway, the old man in the vest framed by Jace's streetlight, the child with the toy horse outside Mara's window swaying on his feet, each held no lantern. Their faces were lit from within, eyes faintly glowing red. They smiled the same smile. Evelyn staggered back, her stomach flipped because she remembered the woman's words, perfect and sweet. No names, no addresses, no invitations. And suddenly she understood. The afflicted were the husks, the hunters, the noise, but the people, the polite ones, they were the true plague, carriers of the lantern light, puppets of inevitability, Not helping, not hiding, welcoming. Her voice cracked in the dark. We let them talk to us. We let them follow. The lantern at her window pulsed one last time. The clock inside it blinked 0001. All across town, the four of them saw the same thing. Their own reflections in the glass warping, their faces bending into beaks, their eyes glowing faintly red. The townsfolk outside didn't move. They only whispered in perfect unison, voices carrying through the streets like a hymn. The doctor sees, the doctor knows, the doctor marks, the lantern glows. And in the final flare of light, Evelyn understood Harrow's Edge had never been a town. It was a sickness. A promise. And now it lived in them. That night, 4 lanterns glowed in 4 windows, counting down. But when dawn came, they didn't fade, they multiplied. By the next night, every street in town had one waiting, pulsing patient. And if you wake to find one outside your own window, don't look. Because once the lantern sees you, your days are already numbered.